Okay. This review is for Platinum DPS player. King, for you. This one's for you, and then I'll do another one for your team later. This is your first week in OD. Nepal, cool. So with this comp, you're running the May and a Brig. You're going to be looking to punish people for being out of position. I mean, set up with your Ryan, Sun Shatter, stuff like that. You know how to combo ults. So I won't go over that unless I see something specific. Yeah, I'll just start the video.
Straight down mid and right of point.
Oh, and I have to do off visor because my pen isn't recording on OBS for some reason. So I'm going to record it on here on OBS so you can see the pen tool if I need to draw something. And hopefully the video quality isn't too much worse, but I think it will be slightly worse than the actual Twitch VOD.
Oh, sorry. We designated
Straight down mid, right of point.
Fudwick, shot caller.
Left.
No, other right, dude. That's okay. Play forward, play
3,
forward.
2, 1.
Huge bash. Kill Ryan, kill Ryan, kill Ryan. Focus Ryan, focus Ryan. Focus Ryan, focus Ryan, focus Ryan. Help our Ryan, help our Ryan.
You're far.
Our Ryan's down.
Okay, good call on your bash, like that.
Play forward, play
3,
forward.
2, 1.
You guys used
Huge
too
bash.
early.
Kill Ryan, kill Ryan, kill Ryan. Focus Ryan, focus Ryan, focus Ryan. Focus Ryan, focus Ryan, focus Ryan. Help our Ryan, help our Ryan.
You're far.
Our Ryan's down. Huge, get him.
I mean, in that situation, you might have been able to whip shot the Rhine away from your Rhine. I mean, you went with your Rhine to try to help him, but not much you can do in that situation. I would have liked to see you play a little more aggressive once the wall went up.
Huge bash. Kill Ryan, kill Ryan, kill Ryan.
Shield bash, you get knocked back.
Focus Ryan.
Right here. You could probably get some cleave on, I think it was Brig who's here. Just a little minor thing. Cleave to do extra damage, build rally faster. Also canceling your whip shot, I don't know. We'll see if you do that later on.
Help our Ryan, help our Ryan.
But like,
You're far.
canceling your right click halfway through, like still hitting someone, but you can cancel it halfway through with your whip shot to deal your max amount of damage.
You're far.
Our Ryan's down.
Huge.
Get him.
Sleeping Diva. Nope. Behind you.
Break it down point. I'm down.
That was a fast shatter.
Reset.
Yeah. Reset, yeah. They both shatter really
Go.
fast.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Right side.
My wall went down as soon as I charged.
Alright, they're just running goats, we're running May goats.
We will win
Alright,
this.
cool, we have good support.
Okay, what?
So,
Then
the
we
plan,
drop-
we're gonna
we should
need to
drop
hit
the
a
May, we
huge
should drop the
ante
May.
and go in on it. So if we hit an ante, Fudwick, you're gonna have to call a target and we're just gonna run them.
I honestly think
I'll try to put up a wall so you can hit an ante on the wall, make it easier.
As Brig, you can be setting up some of these plays. You guys are talking about hitting antes, but if they're just playing on point, it's going to make it harder for you guys to do that. Yes, you guys have the advantage as in your Ana is a better pick than their Moira. You counter them in some senses. But if they're playing on point, there isn't much room for your Ana to get a nade. Besides like shields and bubbles and shit. So if you can be looking up to set something up with your bash, or you bash melee whip shot the Ryan out of the way, and then that gives your Ana a chance to anti-nade the rest of their team. Or bashing to help set up a May freeze onto their Ryan or something of that sort. That's what I would be wanting to see you do in this next fight.
Just try not to get it eaten.
Wall the right side, we'll rush left side, speed boost in.
Okay, go.
Wall it, go. Kill Ryan, kill Ryan now, kill Ryan now,
Run,
kill Ryan
run,
now,
run.
kill Ryan now.
I'm dead, I'm dead.
Run,
Run forever.
run. He's purple.
I have an nano.
So you guys called to wall right and then go left. Cool, that's fine. But then you play super passive here. You can shut down their Moira ult if you get close enough. That's kind of risky and I wouldn't recommend it, but you get in and you just kind of sit there taking the coalescence and you don't push up to help your Ryan until after your bubbles used
I'm dead,
and after they've reacted to your rotation. So you as a team need to be more aggressive. Your Ryan was doing the right thing. He was playing more aggressive around that corner. But you should be playing more aggressive with him, because if you allow them to react to your rotation, they've already committed an ult. So if you guys don't take point control and they have that side of point, you guys are just sitting in the open taking coalescence, and they have more cover, and they already have point control. So they don't need to. They can just have one person step on point while they whittle you down with coalescence. So you guys need to play more aggressive here. Look to do something with your bash. Your bash May, Anna. Brig May, Anna.
dead, I'm dead.
Run. Run. He's purple.
I have an nano.
Back out.
Okay.
We're down two.
They probably have ults too again. I'm dead.
You can get
I'll
out,
grab.
Zarya? No, okay. Creamy, your mic's muted.
Is it? Is it?
The wall.
actually-
Yo,
No,
catch
you're- no,
catches
you're
Lucio.
fine.
Kill Lucio. Kill him. Nice.
He's one.
Huge. Alright, get ready to push.
Guys,
I have
guys,
shatter, I have
guys.
shatter, I have shatter.
Yeah.
Focus diva.
You're missing Zarya.
I have.
At a higher level, you would have waited to use Rally to see if you actually needed it, because often a 5v6 is usually a one fight, especially when it's someone like a Lucio. So using Rally later in the fight and not in a choke or right before a choke would be better, at least in my opinion. Some people have different opinions, but I like when my teams use Rally to stabilize or to start or continue a fight that they have no ults, so they use Brig armor to build their next ults and win their next fight, or to stabilize a fight. So I would have liked you to use Rally in this situation. If you're going to use it, I would have liked to see you use it like in this area here as you start to push around this corner. And apologies for my terrible drawings, but yeah, because you're going into this fight and it just goes down there.
Oh, I got bash.
Right? So you guys haven't really started this fight. Like, some of you like half committed, but you're in no range to hit people. You're not in range to hit them, and Rally has worn off. So you can play a little more aggressive when Rally's going, because your armor is gonna max out, but as you take damage, it'll refill, because you can only get a certain amount of armor from it. So I would have liked to see Rally a little bit later.
I got bash.
I got shattered.
My ult got eaten. Diva frozen.
Me and Ryan are both dead.
What?
Bring it down point.
Let's go,
Focus
Danny.
Diva on point.
Yeah, that was
Diva,
kind of
Diva,
like the
Diva.
whip shot cancel.
Got Zarya coming on me right now.
No more ults.
Diva.
High charge Zarya.
I'm on my way back.
Zarya.
Diva.
Alright, I'm here. Runs back.
Stagger. Never mind.
No, we don't have. We can't.
I have graph.
Go.
Back up. Capture point.
You only need one to
Sitting on
capture.
banana.
You only need one person to capture.
Okay, starting to play. I'm gonna. They have.
They're gonna have grav. I don't have beat for it.
I have graph. I have
Do you guys have Shatter? I don't know, because I haven't seen your tab recently. But if you guys have Shatter, you can be looking to set up a Bash Shatter here. Or bash into a nade or a sleep dart, or May freezing your Rhine, their Rhine, something like that. But if you guys have Shatter, you should be up here with your Rhine, and you can use your shield to look from where the Rhine is. You can third person behind the wall, like around the wall, so you can see when they're coming into you. Or if they go up top left, then you can see them rotate up there as well. So by third person peeking this wall, you'll know, you get way more information, and you can set up your Bash Shatter if you have it. I don't know if he called that he had it. I couldn't really hear him, or I don't really know whose voice is whose, so.
Biograph.
I'll try to wall the grab.
Let me heal as much as I can to get to get ult.
Block sharp.
Did you
Watch for grab, get ready to eat it, D.Va? Do we have a D.Va? No, okay.
How many ults did you guys use? No, never mind. I'll go over that in the team one.
To get ult.
Block sharp.
Did you
Watch for grab, get ready to eat it, D.Va? Do we have a D.Va? No, okay.
No, we don't.
I got ping.
Right on point. Watch for grab.
Break half.
There it is. Grab's out.
Shattering. I got 2. I'm dead.
You're in this grab and you're nano boosted. You can be swinging here. Your Rhine's shielding most of you, and if you start to take damage, then you can reshield, but there's not really any point for you to use shielding right here. You're not protecting anyone, because you and Rhine are the only ones in this grab, I believe, but he's protecting you. So you can just swing, which will in turn heal your Rhine if they get close enough to hit you. And you can also use your whip shot more to create space in between the enemy and the grab. So if they get close, you can whip shot them away, which still does healing, which will proc your healing. So I don't think any of them do it close enough. Brig's close. You could probably kind of whip shot her away.
Nice breakdown. He's down point. I'm coming back with ult.
Oh fuck, I got it.
And that's map.
We have one last touch. We're going to need touch like now.
Your target focus could be a little bit better in the sense that like you should be trying to play more with your Rhine. I mean, you guys have a very, like, I want to say in your face comp, and you guys can punish people super easily for being out of position. So I would have liked to see you more with your Rhine, playing more aggressively off of like May walls and stuff. And then also you and your Rhine should be hitting the same target constantly, unless one of you is dead or you're split off for whatever reason, but generally you guys want to be hitting the same target.
We just need to focus.
And there were some times where you guys weren't
Yeah, that
in
Rhine
that
was
fight.
antied for so long.
In those
Alright,
fights.
for this, we could run 2-2-2. That would work.
Should I go far?
We could do pharmacy. No, Kings, you wouldn't be.
We have to switch off rank Zarya, or we have to go goats.
Okay, over to
I
Ash.
mean, our DPS really are good against goats. I think we'll be fine if we go against it, especially if we hit.
No, the tank line will lose. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
There's a fires.
I got you.
Nice gun.
Yeah, they have.
If we hit.
No, the tank line will lose. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Good with the early
Okay.
dynamite. You constantly get hit with fire strikes. You really should try not to. You sort of rotate over to like this right side, the right wall, which is generally good, but you do spend a lot of time just like in the middle here. And like right now, you're not behind your wall, your Rhine shield, and you're not behind a wall. So you're in this open space where you can get hit and spammed out. So you're not using your Rhine's shield for cover, and you're not using natural cover like the pillars. So either use your Rhine shield or use natural cover more. Using natural cover you should always try to work on, because people don't use it to its fullest advantage, no matter what rank you are. So that's always something that people can improve on, in my opinion.
Got you.
Nice gun.
Yeah, they have goats.
Probably.
Get ready to focus their Rhine down.
I'm low.
Good diva.
Diva, Diva.
Zarya's on her own.
chasing.
Zarya.
I can't get. I can't get.
Sleep on left side.
Back up. Oop, rat.
Reloading. Ooh, maybe not the smartest
Lord.
move.
Back up.
Sleep. Ooh, shit. Fuck.
My bad.
They're using that all.
You can use your dynamite more. Like, it's decent aerial denial, and like it's like at this point you guys should be hard resetting. So you just throwing out some dynamite, like bouncing off a wall, getting it behind someone, will help you build your ult faster. Probably won't get any kills, but you guys should be hard resetting at this point anyway, because you guys are just kind of staggering. And the enemy team isn't like being super punishing, because I'm assuming they're a lower ranked team too. Because if this was a higher ranked team, they would have just pushed into you guys and killed your entire team at this point. But they're a lower SR team from what I'm seeing, and it's actually worse for you guys because it staggers you guys more. Because they don't know that they should be pushing off this and winning the fight. But you guys should be hard resetting here, and you should be using dynamite more to build your ult. Especially when nothing's going on.
That ult for no reason.
Just give me the charge.
You have a secondary bubble for me to charge it?
So like right here, you're just kind of like waiting for the Farah. You're even charging your Zarya up, and you still have dynamite. You can just like throw it on the stairs, get some ult charge.
Yep. Nice.
Nice. Let's push
Nice.
forward. Push forward.
Bobbing.
I'm going
We're
in.
gonna go at him.
Alright, go. Breach, can I charge it? I'm charging it. Oh, I got shot.
Okay, that is the third shatter. You've been hit by 3 out of 4 shatters, I believe, these maps. So if your Rhine isn't protecting you, if he's playing super aggressive over here, which fine, that's his playstyle, then you should be more wary. You should be using natural cover more. You should be playing a little bit further. Like, you should not be this close to your Zarya. You don't need to be that close. Your fall off range is like, I want to say 20, starts at 20 meters for your unscoped and starts at 30 for your scoped. So even unscoped, you have some range. You don't need to be right in someone's face to do damage. And that's part of the reason what you have Bob for. So play a little bit further back or look for more flanks. Like, you could have rotated over to either on the left side. You could have like gone over here, used your coach gun to get up there, or if you know the jump, you can get up there. Or on the right side by elephant, you could have rotated over there, look for different angles, because you keep going like very straight on angles, like right behind your tanks, and it's putting you in pretty vulnerable positions, especially when you're not using cover to the most advantage you could.
Big rush.
Lucy on the back. He's
Bring him back.
asleep. He's done.
I
Ready?
See, like, what was the purpose of that coach gun? I mean, maybe protect your Ryan, but he should just shield up, and you guys are already up in this fight, so it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Like, they have no Lucio, just speed onto your Ryan and punish them. They're already down. Yeah, they're down their Ryan, so they can't play super aggressive with you since they're missing both of those heroes. So he should just be able to shield up and live, and your Anna should be able to heal him, assuming. So there's not a whole lot of purpose to that coach gun other than you're just pushing the enemy away from you,
I reversed her.
and
Push and break.
like they have control of points, so it's
No,
not
no.
helping you that much. It's, if anything, it's
Understand
prolonging the
you,
fight.
Swinging diva.
My
Shattering.
opinion. That's my opinion.
Nice. Big move.
Get behind.
Nice shield.
Okay. How many else?
Reload sooner, faster. There are some times where you just like kind of forget to reload, or it's late. So
How many else do we use?
just work on
Yeah,
learning
we-
with reload.
we'll
'Cause you
have
could have done
Grav
it,
next.
We'll have
Uh,
grab.
Like you could have done it when you were just waiting for the bomb, but then you didn't reload until the bomb went off, even though the fight was already won. So there's optimization stuff.
Let's have. I'll primarily swing into it,
Whenever
and
we
Farah
grab,
will
we're
hit into
gonna
it to go.
Try to get beat out. If we don't, whether we do or not, we're gonna need to anti the grab. We're gonna need damage boost Farah.
I can anti-grav easy.
Okay,
Were they
I like
gonna
the
have
angle,
They
good.
use bomb, shatter. They're gonna have grav.
So like you could have used dynamite way earlier in that fight, and you would have had a second usage by now, and maybe you had some more ult charge. But if you had used it,
Whether we do or not,
I mean,
we're
you
gonna
could
need to
just chuck it out at this point. Like look for one over the top, or just set it right on this corner. Just gets you extra ult charge and does some aerial denial, and it spams their shield down and shit. Plus, it'll get you ult faster.
we need to anti the grab. We're gonna need damage boost Farah.
I can anti-grav easy.
Instead, you're kind of just like waiting here.
Were they
You still
gonna
have it, still have
They
it,
use bomb, shatter. They're gonna have grav.
and then you shoot it at a pillar and get no value from it, right? And you could have done that, but you also could have thrown one earlier, so you would have had 2 dynamites. You could have done that one, but you could have had one earlier that potentially got you more ult charge as well.
D.Va on me. I can get away.
Gotcha.
Try to kill loose.
The
Nice,
beat
nice.
in.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Ryan's
Back
asleep.
up, back up.
Can't see
Good
you, Ryan.
coach gun.
There's a Brigitte down.
Okay. They beat Coalescent. Did
Wait for it.
they?
Wait for it.
Ryan's
Back
asleep.
up, back up.
And they used Rally. Okay. So
Try to kill loose.
The
Nice,
beat
nice.
in.
as soon as you hear the beat, as soon as you see them here, and as soon as you hear beat or Coalescence, either or, you should just be backing the fuck up. Because at this point, you're out of position. Here, you're out of position. You're parallel with your Rhine, and they have Lucio to speed onto you. Your Rhine isn't playing up by the choke. He has been forced back. So you are now out of position because you haven't rotated soon enough. And they are going to punish you for it.
Nice,
Beat
nice.
in.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Your Anna's also out of position. Coach gun is fine, like you're helping protect your tanks.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Ryan's asleep.
But then like you kinda get greedy here and you kinda hesitate and like go back and look for a shot or two. And they've rallied, so that means their break has even more speed, so you just need to, so like they're gonna punish you here because they've got beat, rally, and coalescence going. So Brig and Moira are all faster, plus they have speed boost. And you don't have a coach gun to get away. So you're fucked because you didn't rotate soon enough or react to their ults.
Ryan's
Back
asleep.
up, back up.
Can't see you, Ryan.
Down me, down me.
There's a Brigitte down me. There's a Brigitte down me.
Grab
I'm
it.
dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
Unlock this.
Down healer. Ferric, can you switch to Brigitte? And then
Moira's
Merchant,
pushing
can
me.
you switch to Anna? I'll go Lucio.
I have to bail. I have to bail. Oh my god.
Oh my.
I'll go Lucio.
So, you know there's a Moira in here. You know there's a Lucio here. You can see Ryan coming. And you throw dynamite there. So, I don't know if you were expecting the Lucio to go over there or the Moira to come out there or something like that. But you're gonna get more value out of it if you just throw it over here. Right, because their tanks should be pushing up with their Lucio. I mean, Lucio's overextended, he should be speeding his tanks into your Rhine. That's a misplay on his part, but they're gonna be coming, and you can see, you saw at least the Rhine, if not the D.Va at this point. So this dynamite is wasted because, I mean, I think you clipped the Lucio with it, but he'll just heal it up, and these guys tanks to sustain for him. Like, it doesn't give you a ton of ult charge, doesn't like slow down these tanks from fucking rolling over your Rhine or you.
Yep.
Yeah, you get
I have to
Lucio.
be like the bit. Oh my god.
Oh my.
Why the fuck did they do that?
Punish Diva, punish Diva, punish Diva. That altar.
I like the position. I mean, you shot the dynamite too early though. You can tell. I don't think you might get Rhine, but still, like that should have been. You still shot it too early. It might get Rhine, or it might just be a shield.
Get ready.
I
We're
can't
gonna
tell.
hard push on this, Ryan.
Yeah, Urshar's
We have
90.
Bob Shatter, we have Bob Shatter. They don't have... They have Rally, probably, and Coalescence.
Okay, I'm gonna Bob the bait out the cooldowns. Okay?
And that
ready?
bomb...
Okay. If you guys want to Bob Shatter, then you should probably be looking to hit their Rhine with Bob, so Rhine goes up in the air and your Rhine can shatter. That would probably be the most value you can get out of it. Yeah, I don't remember what you guys end up doing here though. We'll watch.
Bomb,
Ready?
they have bomb, they have bomb.
Push
Okay.
forward. Push
Easy
forward.
caught. Oh, it's good.
Bob in 3, 2, 1. Bob!
Shattering him?
Huge shatter. Huge shatter.
Big, 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 big.
I mean, I don't really like your Bob usage that much because you're just like throwing him straight down the middle and giving them lots of time to hide from him or to reposition away from him or to like counter him if they had an Ana easy sleep, right? Or something of that, and he got caught in the grab at this point. So you're not getting a lot of value out of Bob. And also, where are your tanks? Just ask yourself that. Where are your tanks? They're behind you. There's a Brig in front of you. And then I think, yeah, that's your teammate. Your Lucio's over here. But most of their team is here. So your tanks should be here in front of you, not the other way around.
Got boop buff?
Focus. Focus. Ryan.
Right? See, there's your tank. There's a tank. So,
Ryan. Ryan.
Focus, Ryan.
just ask yourself, if you don't see your tanks, where are my tanks? And then if you don't see them and they're behind you, you're probably out of position.
Focus, Ryan.
Ryan.
Oh god.
You shattered?
I'm dead.
That's another shot you got hit by.
GG.
And that's map.
Okay, that's first match. We have like 2 more. But first,
We can do Bastion, I'm... Yeah, G, alright. You, and I'm...
I mean, if they have a Sombra, they already know. Like, they can just
But,
look,
like, if,
so.
if they have a Sombra, they're gonna lose.
No, if they have a summit, they're gonna win because they're gonna hack.
They have
our
Widow, they
Bastion.
have Widow.
So I see. They have Fire too.
So you guys are running
Actually, heal.
triple DPS Rhine, double support?
Actually, heals.
add him on.
Drop it.
Hello, with his position?
She's left.
Oh, she's on shield.
Okay, if you're gonna be playing Bastion, don't sit directly on top of the payload, cause like on the back there's a bump that you can sit on. It pushes you higher. It's not good to sit on because it means you're closer to the top of Ryan's shield, which means people can fire over it easier, and it doesn't give you any cover. So if you're on the side of it, on the right side of it, you have a little more cover from the left side, or where the caves are. So this one and the one just back here. So you have a little more cover from if someone's flanking from there, and it's less space that your Rhine has to shield from. So if you're going to be playing Bastion, use the natural cover of payloads more if you can. Even like on Junkertown, like there's like it has an arc to it, so you can position yourself on like one of the corners to prevent as much as yourself, reduce the amount of area that you can get hit by, effectively reducing your hitbox.
No, that's far. Never mind.
Someone needs to contest him off high ground.
My shield
Leave
down.
him, leave him. We can
Shields.
focus him down.
Shields down.
They don't have shield.
So how far back do you know they have Farah?
Oh, she's on shield.
You know they have a Zen. You know they have a Zarya. You
Someone
know they
needs to
have a
contest
Ryan.
him off high ground.
You know they have a Widow.
Leave him,
And now you know they have a Fair Mercy. So
leave him, leave him. We can focus him down.
Shields down.
They don't have shield.
okay, so you're just ignoring the Fair Mercy first of all. Second of all, you're just wasting bullets. Like you're not shooting anything. Now you're gonna have to reload, and they're gonna peek, and then you're gonna be reloading.
Fair's on the left.
Right,
Fair's,
so you're
Fair's-
reloading, and now they're peeking again, or now they're Ryan's peeking
Fair's behind
specifically.
us.
Shield has to
I
drop.
think he's gonna charge you at this point.
Slow, slow,
Fair
slow.
Probably. Yeah. So when you get if you're playing Bastion on Route 66, you need to understand that the payload gets awfully close to the high ground of the gas station. So that's kind of a threat, and you need to keep an eye on that. And also, don't ignore Farahs, especially if you don't have a Zarya or specifically a Diva. That's going to help mitigate the damage, because Ryan can only really block damage from one direction, and why Diva is so good is that she can block damage from another direction, so you can be blocking damage from two different directions at a time. And that's also the idea behind the double shield, right? Is that you don't have to focus on one area. You can be safe from multiple areas, which is how people counter Bastion comps. Is like you have multiple crossfires going on, and like your team is split so that they can't, so that like you can't just like focus them down like a goats comp. Like if a goats comp is playing together and you're just shooting them as Bastion, they're just gonna get shredded. But if they're playing more of a dive comp and they've sort of set up a couple crossfires and they're splitting your attention, and you have no way to contest them, and they're using natural cover, and your Ryan can only shield from one direction while there's a Fair shooting you from behind, and there's a Tracer coming at you from the other side or something like that. So it's just something like you need to be aware of, like how teams play against Bastion, and like how can you be effective with Bastion, and also like understand that your Ryan can only shield one direction. Like he can't stop the damage boosted Pharaoh rockets from hitting you, and those do a lot of damage because they should all be directs if you're just sitting there.
I missed it.
Big for us.
Nicely.
Run low,
Get the
push
Ryan,
him.
get the Ryan. Nice.
Ryan dead.
Fair's above you
Oh my
guys.
god, this Fair got me.
Would've got me.
I am by no means a Bastion expert, so I don't have a lot to comment on like where you're setting up and stuff, but I mean you're kind of out in the open again. They're not really pushing you, and you're not in Widow's sightlines, which is fine, but again you're just kind of like sitting in the middle of a road. See, right there they push you,
Should I swap up back?
I don't. Yeah, Bastion's not
Yeah.
gonna work.
as opposed to like
Go-
being
go
closer to a
break.
wall and having more cover.
Can you go Diva actually? Can you go Diva?
We probably should stop doing triple DPS.
That way you can help dive the Widow and the Farah.
Kings.
Connor, I'm not due.
We
Oh,
should
we
get
should-
an alpha.
we should
Kings
di-
go Widow. Kings go Widow. I'm going
Yes.
Diva.
The time has come.
But good luck. Enemy Widow's ulting right now. Okay, SBT dubs. She also has orb. And she has damage boost from time to
Yeah,
time.
good
so you're gonna have
calls.
to work it out. Her movements seem really
Nice.
erratic.
Huge.
Nice. Her movements
I
seem
can't
really
see you.
funny.
Guys, I need help.
They're resing it, they're resing it.
They bubbled it, second boob.
Here, baller, you guys are low.
If you guys are gonna be taking this position, which is fine if you want to try to like take the duel with the Widow and you want Ryan shielding you, okay, fine. I'm fine with that. But there's a Farah above to your left that's still shooting you guys, and you haven't put any pressure on her yet.
Oh, I have Nano.
And she backed off here, but like she's still on that ramp.
Farrah's on the left side, up the ramp. She's now above.
Pushing Ryan.
Farrah's left side of you,
What is
Widow.
one? What is one? First on me.
I have Discord on me at the back. Widow's flanking. Flanking.
You see this? You just used your only movement ability to grapple behind the enemy Rhine. Oops, arrow. Behind the enemy Rhine, in front of both of your tanks, and you're out of line of sight of your supports, into the line of sight of a Zen, because you're not discorded, and their Farah and their Widow. And I'm not sure where their Widow is yet. I don't remember if you guys killed her. But you just used your only way of getting out to basically kill yourself. And if they don't punish you here, I'd be very surprised.
Flanking.
It's like now you're trying to run back to your team because you're out of position.
Yeah, that it's not the Widow that's winning the game. It's the Farah.
Nice shatter.
Nice. That's huge.
Farrah one, Farrah dead.
We got this.
Yeah, the Widow's drawing King's attention to the forest free roam.
Focusing Zarya.
Widow moved to below.
Widow's one.
I'm dead.
Can we get her?
Yo, we need help.
I got her.
What?
Just make sure you call out that Mercy's one if you had a headshot like that.
Yeah, cart. Ryan's gonna be back soon.
Where did Ryan go?
Also use your venom mines more. I don't think I've seen you used one yet.
I bomb.
I'm gonna move
I'll
to this
talk
door.
about that later.
I beat.
Go through tunnel where your Anna just went,
Work shield.
because they're obviously gonna be able to contest, and you have no sight lines on what's going on. You can't see up here. Like you can see a tiny sliver here, maybe, but like you're not stopping them from taking the high ground. You're not watching the cave entrance over here on the low ground. You're not watching this one. Like you're not being useful to your team right now.
Work shield. Work on shield.
I have shatter again.
Farrah above. Above. Farrah has ult.
Use cover.
Saving my ult for Farrah.
Watching.
Yes.
Farrah dead. Nice. Holding shield.
Let the Widow.
Don't let them rest. Don't let them rest. Don't let them rest. Don't let them rest.
Shattering.
He's looking for rest.
Huge. Oh my god.
Nice.
Someone else,
Oh,
someone else.
great.
Oh, we blade. Yeah, that's bad.
That's unfortunate.
We just wait.
We should have called what we were going to do.
I got you.
I didn't know we were gonna shatter. Yeah. Okay. So, what else do they have? They popped Grav, Trance.
Waste of time. Like you're gonna grapple up there, but for what purpose? To save time, right? And to potentially position yourself on the high ground, on this side, on the right. But you've waited here for an extra 3 seconds instead of just like keep walking this way, and then you can grapple up there anyway. So
Shatter.
optimization.
They have Barrage.
They use
They
trance.
have Snipes.
Yeah, they use if they use trance, then all they have is barrage shatter. No, I fat fingered. Oh no!
That's disappointing.
Go hard, just go hard. Fuck.
Don't go hard. Don't go hard. If we fat finger that, we can try to take advantage, but they're too far away. Don't go overextending.
Let me heal as much as I can. God damn it.
Widow's up top. On the high side.
This is where you could pop sites. Not now that you're Genji's dead.
High side.
But like here. Or as soon as you see Genji going to try to pressure the Widow, giving him sights. because sites aren't just for you to like 1v1 their widow. I mean, it's useful, and that's one of the ways you can use it. But it's very important for your entire team because it lets you know where the enemy, it lets your entire team know where the enemy is setting up, where they're coming from, where they're positioned. It also will probably make this widow play more passive and make the Zen play more passive. And it also helps your Genji with this 1v1. I think he just gets domed.
Fair barrage.
And it might have actually helped prevent that barrage as well. So
Got the Zen.
I didn't
Yeah, I'm
hear
dead.
it come in on us.
I didn't block that because I was going for the Zen. I'm sorry, but he was open.
okay. Don't think I've seen you use this ability once yet. I mean, there haven't been a ton of opportunities for you to use it, but placing it over there where the Pharah just shot you from, yes. On little choke points or flanks that you think the enemy might come through. Or like even if you win a fight and you know they're gonna come through a choke point, put it over by that choke point so you know when they're coming. Gives you sights to the wall and shit. It's an extra 75 damage, I believe it is, if someone dives you or if someone like if Farah does this but you land a body shot and then she gets hit with a venom mine, gets no healing, she's dead, right? And then you trade. So
Well, barrage is out, so I don't have to worry anymore.
Yeah, just wipe.
I'll
this
try
one.
to point out some more examples
Should we
of
go
where you
dive
can
here?
use it as we go through these VODs.
Yeah, Devlin, go dive.
Should I swap off?
King, stay widow, because we need that pressure. You're popping sights and spawn. That's
See, like
questionable.
Thanks,
that's
Biz.
like your teammate pointed it out, like it's not valuable when you're popping sights there.
Go bridge over here where I am.
We're split up. We're now split up. Tanks are split up from the DPS.
I'm good. I'm on a plane.
Using
We're okay,
Genji.
we're okay. We're just staging.
Set dive, find widow and diver. Or
She's in the
Zen.
back with her
What is
team.
in the very back?
She's in the
Right
back.
I need a position not very
She's
back.
on top of the saloon now.
Get diver.
Job.
I'm on her.
You're not using cover and you're not advancing with your team. Like either advance with your team to put more pressure on them, or play more passively if your team is going to do a full commit dive like that, because the enemy team is just going to well, there's two possibilities. A, they're going to counter dive you since you're just sitting over here, or B, they're going to try to peel back and stop your dive. Yeah. So if you're in a harder position for them to dive, then they're going to peel back, and then you can reposition yourself into a position where you can actually be more of a threat. But you're not, again, no cover.
I'm on her.
Widow one. Never mind.
Should I swap off widow?
I have to jump out.
If you're not hitting shots, then yeah.
I don't think you said anything, so
McCree,
Someone got Mega.
we have
like you should be telling them, your team, that there's a Pharah on top of garage, I think is that call it, I think. So, or just behind in general.
we have to get this fear out of the game.
We got her nice. They
Bait
can't
the
res
res,
on
bait
it.
the res.
Widow off high ground.
Coming. She's trying to res. Oh. Work on mine. He's purple.
I'm dead.
Ryan half. Get Ryan.
Try to get out.
Back up.
Kings would swap to Ash. Okay. Widow's ulting. Alright, we have bomb, we have blade, nano, prime, we have everything but Kings.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's nano
Alright,
blade.
just get the Rhine shield down, I can bomb. We could nano blade, but we need trance down. Devlin, you're gonna have to pop ult and just go on the Zen hard.
Zen's headshot.
I don't have it yet, but I can do it.
I think that was you that just called Zen's
I have
headshot,
default. I need it.
but that call out should be
Yeah,
earlier.
Widow's poking at me. Where's Zen?
Fair's behind y'all.
Zen's in the corner.
They grab.
They grab.
Let's back out. You don't have tank.
McCreamy, just stay safe above all.
They know where you are, McCreamy, that you have Discord.
I'm dead.
We're gonna need touch. We're gonna need touch.
I almost have ult.
Got
I can
some
touch, I can
for it.
touch.
I can touch. I can touch.
I'm on.
Touching.
Kills in, kills in, kills in, kills in.
Help me, help me,
Focus
help me.
in. He's in the far
I'll
back.
stick her, I'll stick her.
Nice trance. Nice trance.
Alright. That's worth, that's worth.
Razzing.
Pressing Q. Pressing Q.
Oh,
Bust
well,
the
I
up.
cheated.
Another example of using or you shooting dynamite too early. Right here.
Pressing Q. Pressing Q.
Like, no, not even
Pressing Q.
close.
Oh,
Bust
well,
the
I
up.
cheated.
You need to just practice more ashing, get used to the range on the explosion and stuff.
Why did it hit you?
Far.
She's one.
Focusing
Ryan.
Fire's burning, one.
Mercy one. Mercy dead.
Mercy
Keep
dead.
touching. Keep touching. It's winnable.
Ryan. Any kills,
Widow
any
low in
kills,
the back,
any kills.
Widow low in the back, Widow low in the back.
Thank you.
She's dead.
Sorry on the cart.
Was that really worth it?
Widow low in the back. Widow low in the back, Widow low
You
in
know she's won. You're in bubble, so there's no chance of her hitting you. Your team is winning this fight. And she's sitting there without cover.
low in the back.
Thank you.
And then
She's dead.
you dynamite her
Sorry on the cart.
Yeah, just
Nice
stands for
games.
me.
instead of just
She's one.
shooting her. I don't know. You should have just shot her instead of, like, there's no way you know if she's grapple or not because you haven't seen her use it and no one's told you. So she could have easily just grappled out of the way of it, because she sees it coming. It's a projectile, so she sees it coming. Whereas your shot is hit scan, so she's, unless you miss, then she's not avoiding it, right?
I
She's
bought
dead.
next fight.
Alright, stick cart. I'm gonna go to high ground.
They have
Okay,
Hanzo now instead of Pharah.
If you were on Widow, throwing a Venom Mine like up there, like anywhere on top of it, or like to the side of it, this is an example of like using it in a choke. So if they try to push into you, you have that extra damage. Plus, you know, like they're coming. I like this position.
Hanzo's coming.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm putting the bulb down.
Too early dynamite again.
Mercy, get
Mercy
Mercy,
half,
just
Mercy
one.
half. Nice. Hanzo one, nice.
Run,
Run.
Don't leave the cart.
Nice.
Genji come in. Nice.
Dynamite's early again.
Thank you. I'm gonna pop next fight.
Genji's back in spawn.
Alright, they have Grav. They're going goats. They just want goats. But they have Grav Shatter.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
I almost
Everything
have
else is about
primal.
zero.
I'm gonna go Ryan.
They're full goats, by the way.
Yeah, they're full goats.
Yeah, but
Um,
still,
we have
Winston.
Creamy stay because we're close to Nanoblade and they're not gonna have trance for it. I believe. They might. Kings, you're gonna have to bob the Zen.
Yeah, okay.
I don't care what else you get, just bob the Zen. We can Nanoblade.
Okay, I know he said Bob the Zen, but your team isn't in a position to follow up or help you, and you've just put yourself in the back line, and the Zen knows you're there, and he's probably gonna tell his teammates. Bob can go for quite some while before stopping, as long as he doesn't hit someone or like a wall or something. So you can use him for more of a range. You don't have to like be right next to the Zen,
Zenning.
Sorry, Auntie.
Bob!
Round on me.
Genty.
right? And then you're forced to use it even after you died, and he ends up hitting the truck and doesn't get a lot of value out of it. See, he's kind of chilling over there, not doing much. because you were forced to use
Watch out,
it
D.Va
early,
top. D.Va top right.
and now you don't have it for your last
Let's
fight,
focus
which
on
is
this
coming
Ryan,
up.
guys. Focus on this Ryan while he's trying to pay attention to bomb.
Yeah. I'm low. I bashed. I'm dead.
Got Shatter out. I have beat.
I have
Mine's low.
bomb.
Back out. Get out.
They
Get
don't
out.
see
Get
me,
out. Get out.
they
Get
don't
out.
see me, they don't see me.
Alright, regroup.
C9ing him.
XD. Okay, get out.
Kings, go Zarya.
Sorry.
Bombing.
Yes, I
Kings
can
can't
do it.
Zarya.
Yeah, we'll keep Creamy because of Blade, but go Zarya.
Got it.
Alright.
We have nano.
Oh shit,
It's
we don't have
only 8
speed
seconds
boost.
left.
I got it. I'm touching.
Jump out.
Bubbling you?
I got.
Nice
Do
break.
not nano me. Do not nano me.
Close to
Okay.
Enemy,
break.
enemy.
Pulling back. I got bash.
It's a big bomb.
Bubble for that.
That's it. We got it really far. Alright. So expect goats or pirate ship. I think that's what they're gonna run.
Junkrat?
We can do double projectile.
Let's go fair. Let's go fair McCree.
We could double projectile, but then they can just pharmacy.
Let's go fair McCree.
Fair McCree, that sounds
I'm
good.
not gonna worry about your Zarya, because you're only on it for like 10 seconds.
Actually, Ash. King's Ash. Ash is poppin'. And then McCreamy. We could
Me and King.
targets, and usually they either focus Kings to prevent his damage, then damage boost McCreamy's.
I have comp.
They're running dive. Like, shoot them if they dive us. But we need to hold all on gas station.
Yep, we're all here.
I got Diva.
They're running.
got Zarya,
dive
they got
goes,
Winston.
dive goes.
Like, there's no reason to not dynamite at the beginning of the map. Like, to get ult charge or whatever. Because you're using it here, but that could have been your second dynamite already. And you could have already generated some ult charge, right? So, even if you're just, like, Hail Marying it, like, over the fucking canyon wall or something. Or maybe you're over, you start over here, you throw dynamite over by their spawn. It explodes after 2 seconds on the ground, so if you can, like, land it right in front of their door with, like, 1 second to go, perfect. I mean, that takes a little bit of practice, and, like, it's not easy for a lot of people, but like, if you throw it and it hits a wall and then bounces, like, down in front of their spawn, like, you can hit their spawn door with it, and then once it hits the ground, it'll start ticking, and after 2 seconds, it'll explode, so play around with that, so you can try to get early ult charge. But anyway, position up here, you can throw one over, and then you can just, like, coach come back, and you'll have both cooldowns by the time they get to this corner that you're going to be fighting at anyway.
Dive goes.
Yeah, Dotes.
Kill Winston as soon as he jumps in. Like as soon as he jumps in, kill him.
Yeah, you should also be watching, if you're positioned on this side, you should be watching both the cave entrances.
Yeah, Winston.
Winston. Break bubble,
Oh, I
break
got
bubble.
bursted.
Nice res.
No, I didn't go
Get the
through.
Winston, get the Winston.
Late rotation. You should have backed up a while ago.
Winston.
Reloading.
Days Floodbook, try to get out.
Alright.
Next play. We can go to her contest.
We could try to swap to a goats type defense.
Can we go in? You have to go in now?
Yep. Like
Touch.
No, they
Back out,
stuck me.
back up.
Yeah, I'm outta here.
Y'all of you.
I mean, you didn't throw dynamite or anything.
Touch.
Your shift
No, they
Back out,
was
back up,
unfortunate.
back up.
Like, it was a mistake, and you know that. But it was unlucky, so don't worry about it.
They're going bash me probably. Never mind, she's dead.
Devlin, you're pretty far off.
you're in bubble,
Yeah,
you're in
I
bubble.
know.
Just charge. Nice sleep.
I'm dead.
That's your J.
Use your
Can we
shift.
switch to Anna, Lucio, Biggie, something like that.
Yeah,
Just go Goat's defense. Just go Goat's defense.
I have dragon. Do we? Oh.
Just dragon from spawn and then swap diva.
No,
I
don't
remember
even
seeing
bother
this.
dragging
This
me.
was kind of a.
Yeah, why not?
Swap
Dragon
diva.
Actually, no, don't. Stay Hanzo. Stay Hanzo. Stay Hanzo.
You all.
We need to anti the trance though.
Don't have Alicia. Winston above.
Winston's above.
They discorded me.
I have grab. Get ready. Get ready.
Get ready
Grab
to
it.
use it.
On cart. Dragon. Hog.
Transit. Wait.
What?
Like 1% from trance.
Kill the Winston, kill the Winston.
I don't know. Use your whip shot. It's extra damage, especially if you're just pushing them into a wall. Like you did on Nepal, you pushed, don't remember who it was, but you pushed them into a corner where you kept whacking them. Like, use it to get your maximum damage, and use it to push them into a corner so they can't do anything while you just sit there whacking them.
Oh, Diva's feeding. We got this. Chase Diva.
Like, you didn't even attempt a whip shot to try and hit the diva.
We held.
Doesn't change, doesn't like affect our boosters, but extra damage
Over here.
helps you build alt charge.
Saloon. Okay.
Inside.
That's not Saloon, but okay.
I'm nano.
Do not peek at all. They know you're here now.
Feeding wall.
Shattering!
Nice shatter.
Oh god. Please shield.
Shield, hard
Goodbye,
shield, I'm
goodbye.
dead. Oh, I'm alive. Oof.
Someone.
Well, we got scouted.
Zen dead?
Yeah, they grabbed.
I'm dragon
dead, I'm
from
dead.
spawn.
You but I'm 90 to grab, dude.
Okay, we're about to have grab again.
Look through the wall, third person. Someone shot you. Who was it? It was Diva, but
Boost.
Like, Grimmy, if you dragon from
Nano.
spawn-
I'll just nano Ryan.
Do you want me to switch? I thought I was gonna switch.
Well, you can, but yeah, now would be a good time to switch. Now that you dragon, just go switch Diva.
Something's wrong with the coordination here. I don't play diva.
Actually, can you switch Reaper? How would Reaper sound?
Reaper, it would work because running.
this is a team thing, but you should also, if your team is doing this, you should yell at them. And I'll point it out again in the team bot review, but you guys are starting a fight where you're down a player. And you guys are like still talking about like switches and stuff, and you're starting a fight. So don't do that.
They're discording me, I have to pull
I've
back.
grabbed, get ready. They don't have
They're
trance.
bursting shield,
Grabbing.
they're bursting shield.
Huge.
Alicia's asleep.
Got trans out.
They keep trans. Late.
Yeah. And you guys are just lucky you had alt advantages, and their Zen was late on that trance.
Trying to get Zarya? Never mind.
I can't play this hero.
They have a Hanzo now.
Pushing to the right.
Shield's down, shield's
About
down.
Hanzo now.
Back up. Oh shit, I got
This is boofing.
Huge anti.
Shattering!
Huge.
I'm dead.
There was a boop. Nothing could have done about that one. Unlucky.
Okay. We did better than we did last time.
Yeah, you guys only won that last fight as a 5v6 because you had alt advantage and they only used one alt. Yeah.
Yeah,
The only problem. we keep
Don't
talking
fight
about
when
the
someone's in the
problem.
spawn and you guys are talking about
Yeah,
switching.
that's the problem.
Flex, yes.
Weak when they're. Cause wait,
Let's go to Volskaya. Doing Goat's attack.
Okay, this is his last map,
no,
I
don't do
believe.
much Goats, just do base class Goats. We can just run into him.
Okay.
if they have DPS on the high ground, then it would help to have two die.
Yes.
What is this game? Why is it still waiting?
It would be a. It would,
The hell?
I'd rather.
I want more.
Yeah.
Until you-
That's a
Alright, so we're doing that. Floats is peels for Ana. And Lucio, so 4 peels. Literally everyone but one.
Did you guys count the seconds that their player was gone?
Not amazing. He can.
He
He has a
can, but
bubble.
he shouldn't. So they're
I
probably
try.
who just joined. So
They have
let's go.
Zarya. They have Widow. They have Widow.
Okay, so now we're gonna goats. There's Zen. Ryan.
Are we ready, boys?
We're ready.
Yeah, Widow.
Widow top
Oh,
left.
so-
Yeah.
Alright,
Widow top
ready?
left by
Jump
herself.
Widow, jump
Diver,
Widow.
diver, diver.
She's
Just going
hooked.
across. Just going across. I'm putting bubble on point.
We need to contest high ground. Top right, top right.
Going,
high
going,
ground.
going.
Contest it. Help him, Diva.
Zen dead. Nice. I'm going to grab
Hey,
Mega.
tanks on point.
Focus
tanks
Ryan, focus Ryan on point.
I'm to back.
Sorry, half.
Connor, too deep. Connor,
Help me.
Use your whip shot.
Help me. Corner room.
I guess
Who's
left
me?
is
Who's
good.
me?
Zarya one,
Procs
Zarya
your
one.
healing and
Ryan.
helps
Zarya dead.
keep their tanks away from your
Ryan,
tanks.
Ryan's one.
Ana, high ground.
Contest
Diva,
Ana from
Diva.
above.
I'm going
Ana?
for Hana. I'm going for Hana.
They have a tracer instead of Widow now.
Like, you
She's
do it there,
anti.
but you don't really use whip shot otherwise.
Diva now, Diva. Nice.
Bubble dead. Yeah, bubble.
Fuck me. Oh, Jesus.
She's feeding, it's okay.
I got a tracer now.
Trust on me.
Get
Zen
Diva.
on Mega. Zen on Mega. Can we jump
Work
Zen
on
on
it.
Mega?
Work on it. Zen dead.
Baby
I'm
Diva.
reloading.
Play
Careful.
around bubble.
Tracer on the right.
Ryan's in now. They're feeding.
She's going upper.
He's anti. Ryan's
She's
anti.
on the far left. Tracer far left. Coming on the point.
I'm just going primal.
You guys used way too many ults to try and defend that.
Alright, they're dead.
Goes Hana.
Nice primal.
Thank you.
Stop pushing forward a bit.
You could have left her for an extra second or two. You could outspeed her and she's not going anywhere.
Nano beat
Play aggressive here.
You guys could have had more of an advantage going into this and snowballed it
Ryan's
harder.
behind Long Diva. So we need to be wait.
And I get high ground. Oh, feels bad.
Really?
I beat for this fight.
Yeah.
They're gonna
We're
use shatter.
indecisive. What are we doing? Go.
I'm gonna beat
Go
it
for
for
Zen.
What
shatter.
are we doing?
Zen's back left. You see him?
Go.
Dive
Zen.
in.
Goes in.
It's half.
They're all anti.
Huge
They're all
purple,
anti.
huge purple.
Pushing me. I'm dead.
Big bomb.
Huge
all
purple,
pushing you.
huge.
You're not swinging, you're not whip shotting, you're just walking at her menacingly, just having a stare down with her Zarya.
Huge purple.
Pushing me. I'm dead.
Big bomb.
Hit the Ana.
Ana's one.
Alright, they use trans. Get out.
Okay, we got
Not
two shots,
winnable.
That's good. That's really good.
It wouldn't let me remech.
Whip shot, create space for yourself and for your team.
We have free grav now.
Sun heal.
Ara, what ults do they have?
They'll have
There are no
they
pistol?
use shatter, grav, they'll have
They
bomb.
don't have. They have nano. They have nano, and that's it. Everything
They'll
else
have
they
Diva
just
bomb?
used.
We all
They'll have
got
diva bomb.
They have trance.
No,
They
they
use
use
it.
No, they
Trance.
use it.
No, Zen farm
Let's
me a
grab
little.
here. Let's grab here.
He
Nano
doesn't get it that
Winston.
fast.
Grab here. Nano Winston.
95 to grab. 95 to grab. Charging.
Grab here and Winston. Nano Winston.
Okay. Pushing it low.
Grav. Ready.
All right, let's go.
Put it down whenever.
Going.
They're anti.
I'm shattered.
Sorry,
He flipped.
Ryan's one.
Zen half.
I'm on
Come on,
Ana. Ana uses
Fair in the
sleep.
back on
Zen
Rana.
dead.
Fair in the back on Rana. Fair in the back on you.
Diva.
Fair
Ara,
on point.
Work on Diva. Diva I'm back.
Like this, you've gone over.
Ara's low.
They have a Hammond now.
Just stun the Hammond and kill him.
He's flipped.
Hammond dead. Focus
Pushing
Ryan.
them
Focus
off.
Ryan.
Pushing them off.
Zen left side. Zen left side.
Behind us. Behind us.
Oh, I did not. I
She's
thought
low.
we played
She's
fair.
low.
Overextend, no support. Like,
Focus Ryan.
you
Focus
see
Ryan.
the Zen,
Zen left side.
you're here,
Zen left side.
you've made him fuck off, you don't need to like keep chasing him. You can rotate back to point and help your team. If he's sitting here, he's getting no value for his team. He's not discording anyone. He's not damaging anyone, and he's not giving harmony. Or if he gives harmony, it's gonna be off in like a second. So,
Behind us.
and then you commit shield bash, which you shouldn't have, because now you're in position with no way to stop him from getting into their spawn unless you like try to like whip shot him out in a way, like you hug the wall and then try to like whip shot him this way or something, but you have no way of like stopping him. And you've gone even deeper, and their spawn is right there, and their spawns are gonna be coming soon. So.
Oh, I did not.
She's
I thought
low,
we played
she's low,
Pharah.
she's low.
Oh no, 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 no.
That guy was lost.
Back up, back up.
Yeah.
Kings and Xavier. Okay. Yeah, King's
Okay,
Ash.
switch over to Ash. Cool.
I feel like we need more heals, especially against the fire.
You want me to go break?
They went road.
Sorry.
No, I think this is good, guys. Let's go.
Guys, I'm gonna go for a flank.
Alright, let's try
Diva
it.
can help contest the Pharah.
Yeah, but be careful. Protect our healers at all costs.
Yeah, I'll try. I don't even know where one of our healers
Hard
is.
Pharah.
I need a shield to charge. I need shields to charge.
I've beat. I'm gonna use it for their something. Don't know
Alright,
yet.
shield's good. Shield's good. Where are we going?
Okay.
They have a roadhog
Start
now?
pushing in. Start pushing in slowly. Behind
Yeah.
shield.
Zen's on low ground. Zen's
Pharah
one.
right side.
Farah pushing me.
Zen's one.
Pharah
Go-
top
they
right.
back me?
Pharah top right. I'm
Watch
down.
out,
You're
watch
down
out.
one. You're down one. You're down one.
Yeah, I'm dead.
This is
Back up,
No
back up.
ults. No ults. No ults.
it's a very safe position. I mean, it's like you're flanking, so it's the safest position you can be in, like cover wise, but you're really not helping your team. All their Zen has to do is fall back like a little bit, and he's just sitting in that doorway. He can still shoot people. He can give discords harmonies. All you have is pushed him back like 3 feet or something like that. And then you're not contesting the Pharah. You're not testing anyone. You're not really charging your ult. You're just kind of sitting here doing nothing. And now your team's
Stay
resetting,
behind me,
and
so
you're still
you're
behind them.
reset.
And then they should know that you're here because their Zen should
Kings,
tell
why are you
them.
behind? You need to be
I
focusing the
said
fire.
I was flanking. I was poking down the Zen. He was one.
I'm getting staggered.
So like I'm totally fine with
Fire
this
is fire,
flank,
that is kill fire, that's why we
but you
win.
just need to find more value
Wait,
with it
what?
because
I
you
thought you
weren't.
said you wanted me to play D.Va. What the?
Because you, like, if you're gonna flank, you gotta find value with your flank. And you were taking a narrow sight line, and you didn't force any rotations or you didn't force any resources to be expended to protect their Zen or to force you out or anything. And now their Pharah is just gonna free farm your team.
No, Kings. He flanked.
Oh.
Alright, let's not worry about it right now, guys. Let's focus up.
Push up.
I'm at
I have
max.
speed boost. I'm gonna speed, and we're gonna go straight for Reinhardt. Okay?
You got
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
And I'll beat it.
Roadhog might have
3,
ult.
2, 1.
Oh, there's gonna be fire
Alright.
barrage. There's gonna be
Go
fire
in.
barrage.
Shattering!
Huge.
Huge!
She
Zen's one, Zen's
nano.
one, Zen's one.
Roadhog.
Yeah.
Anna?
Far-
Pharah top left. Pharah ulting.
Divine
Nice,
shield?
good save,
Nice.
good save.
Oh, she's pushed away.
She's one.
Help on, honest one. Nice.
Nice.
Big boys.
Solo grab the
Yeah.
break.
See, like you
And a
coordinate, like
bomb.
on that second push, your team came in. They were coordinated, and they came in, and then you came in from a flank and had more sight lines, and you were able to find more value. So like that's good. You want to make sure that your team is pushing to create somewhat of a distraction, so you can set up a crossfire. If you're shooting, let me just draw a little thing. Enemies here. Your team is pushing in here, and you're just kind of like in behind them, and you're just like free firing into their back. Perfect, good crossfire. And if you're coordinated, the enemy team is gonna really struggle to deal with that, especially if you have a high ground position.
Die, bitch.
DPS on Winston.
I agree to that point, but let's.
I'm here
Yeah.
for level 2.
They're going right side.
Oh, never mind. Don't both supports don't stay in one spot. They'll never mind. Never mind.
You mean all three?
I'm here
Yeah.
for level 2.
They're going right side. They're going right side. They got
Diva's
ghosts.
discorded. Diva's
I'm just
discorded.
going shock.
Point.
They're all purple, all
Yeah,
purple.
you can
purple,
I'll
purple.
contest, I'll contest.
Diva demect.
Good.
Zarya discorded. Zarya
Wait,
discorded.
wait, wait.
Zarya discorded. Zarya
Run,
discorded.
run, 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 run.
Zarya discorded. Zarya
I
discorded.
got booped.
Yeah,
Lucio one,
Lucio,
Lucio.
Lucio,
Zarya
Lucio,
discorded.
Lucio.
Sorry, Dad.
Discorded.
Where's Lucio?
Dead.
He's running back.
To the right somewhere.
Just
he's
leave
running
him.
back.
Just leave him. I almost had my ult.
I'm coming
Holy
back.
fuck. Dazed. That was an insane nade.
Yeah, that's what
Good
happened.
job.
Alright, they're running dive goats with a Zen. Alright.
Okay, well, that trick doesn't work anymore if that's what you were trying to do. Like the shield bash shift, it doesn't work anymore. They patched it. And pay attention to when your abilities come off cooldown, because you were sitting there with like 2 seconds there and you hadn't used shield bash to get further.
You jump down before I do.
To
Okay,
um,
Xavier,
get back
before you
faster.
bomb, make sure
Oh, they're
Blue
coming.
either doesn't
Winston
have
discorded.
bubble-
You're in shield, can't hit you.
Yeah, now
I'll
it's
hit
good.
shield. Don't worry. Diva discorded. Diva discorded.
Waste of an armor pack. You put it on a baby diva who's getting back into mech. There you have nothing that can burst her down. They're not running Hanzo or Widow or anything. And she was full health,
Diva discorded. Diva discorded.
so
Brooks
it's
coming,
kind of a
Brooks
waste.
coming.
And now you don't have it to
Diva
give
low,
your
Diva
Zarya.
low,
Winston
low,
discorded.
low.
So, like, you-
discorded. Winston.
You just barely got it back to give your Zarya, and now you're out of position.
Winston.
Coming,
Winston.
coming,
Winston.
coming.
Winston.
Nice.
Lucio?
Break discorded.
Zen
Break
behind on Mega, Zen Mega.
Eva got back in
Zarya discorded.
Watch out for Zarya grab.
I have chance for it.
Zarya
Zarya
dead.
discorded.
They're gonna dive us, get ready.
Diva discorded.
Lucio's coming up. I'm coming to appeal.
Diva low.
Giving you guys
Discord
level.
Zen. Discord Zen. Discord Zen.
Zen dead. Zen dead.
Winston. Winston.
You got
Winston.
mech?
Use it to get
Batman
back
is still alive.
faster.
Winston on your healers.
You would have
He's
been back
discorded, he's
already.
discorded.
Don't
Okay,
jump
I'm
in the
okay, I'm
water.
okay.
Get on point.
Diva discorded.
Going,
Diva
going,
discorded.
On Diva, on Diva. Diva to Mac.
I mean, it doesn't matter because you guys had primal,
I have
but
transcendence.
Brig
I
on
have
me, brig on me.
transcendence. Brig discorded.
I
Brig
got you.
discorded.
Nice.
Nice.
you would have been more helpful to your team, and maybe your monkey wouldn't have.
Never mind, never mind.
Maybe your monkey wouldn't have needed to primal if you had shield bashed to get back, because you would have had like probably two shield bashes, and it would have got you there quicker.
Definitely went too far.
I know, I realized.
I have transcendence
Optimization.
for Zarya graph.
Just Zarya, but then
I'm 91 to grab. What are we comboing?
Let's
we're gonna
com-
anti it and then just cleave. Anti-cleave. Yeah. They're gonna have trance, so be careful.
Is Brigitte soon?
Save
Brigitte
our
when
chance
they
for
Zarya ult.
Diva used her ult, so we don't
I'm
have to
gonna
worry
rally
about
to start the
self-destruct.
fight.
Yeah, Brigitte when they use Zarya
Now,
ult.
whenever we dive them, King's rescue.
Oh, okay.
They're coming for us immediately.
Focus Zarya. Focus Zarya. She
Yeah.
probably has grab.
put him bubble up here. Oh, I got moved off. I got moved off.
I got Brigade on me.
Can't get to you, buddy. Zarya ulting. Oh shit, fuck.
Nice trance,
They
nice
baited
trance.
it out.
I mean,
Oh, I got moved off. I got moved off.
your
I got
team
Brigade on me.
overcommitted resources,
Oh,
but
you can't
I'm
get
fine
to
with that
buddy.
rally.
Zarya ulting. Oh shit, fuck.
Nice trance.
They baited
Jumped
it out
into
on
the
me.
middle of a
I'm going back
into the
now.
middle of
Don't
them,
pop ults, we lost.
so
Alright, regroup for next point.
The Brigitte stayed up there. We didn't. Where did our Brigitte
Yeah.
go?
Sorry, I got
Gotta
pooped
get
off.
Should we stay dive or should we swap?
No, this is
T2?
fine. This is fine.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
doing
this is fun. This is fun.
They still have trance.
They're rallying up right now.
I have nothing for it.
Go. We need to grab this fight.
They're diving on me. They're diving on me.
Working on Winston. Working on Winston.
Diva discorded.
Got Brigade on me.
Healer's anti.
Brigitte discorded. Brigitte one.
I'll contest. I'll contest.
Stall.
I'm going down. I'm
Diva
going down.
discorded.
I'm dead.
I'm installed.
That's it.
All right.
unlucky.
They have like 2 more minutes than us, but it's still winnable.
Okay, so they're aggressively diving on our healers.
Yeah, they're just jumping our healers first. We need. The problem is that our tanks are counter diving, but during that time they get to pick on one of our healers, or they boop us off high ground. So then we're split. And there's good because if they nade and don't hit,
I'm going to drop high ground. See, no one's here.
Wait for monkeys.
They have Zarya.
Zarya?
They're doing goats. They're
Eva?
doing goats.
Brig top right.
Let's go high ground.
They're
Take
doing
high ground.
normal
Take
goats.
high ground.
Yeah,
Right side. Right side.
Yeah. I'm coming.
They're running anagoats. Okay.
Force them to drop on a point. Nice. Let's
On his
dive
phone
on
all
the
the way
very back. Dive on
around.
in the very back.
You see?
This is kind of a thing that it's kind of on your Lucio, but you can also tell your Lucio and like talk to him about it. But you and also your Anna weren't in his speed boost aura for a while there, and he was kind of like in front of your tanks. So letting him know that he needs to come back to speed boost you and Anna. Like, you and Anna are two of the most important targets to speed boost in this comp, so he needs to know that, and you need to let him know.
You see Anna across the way?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go!
Alright,
Go for it,
Lucio's here.
go for it.
I got bashed.
On a
one,
low, on a
Anna's-
low.
Anna's one.
And like, you had to bash to try to get there in time, because your Lucio wasn't really speeding you, and you're about to get booped off, I believe.
Anna's one.
Break one, break
Oh
one.
no,
break it
no,
up,
I
break
think
it
he
down,
fucked up.
I got bashed. I have to jump out. I'm jumping out.
Where's
Back
one,
up,
where's
back
one,
up, back up, back up, back up.
Yeah. I can't get it. I can't get it.
The problem was that once we all dropped down, we didn't focus any targets. We were all hitting different
They
things.
were Brig and Anna were super low.
We should have killed Anna on that
Okay,
first
so-
original dive.
Shot
Yeah.
caller, Spudwick. Target caller, Devlin.
Alright. You can do
We
that.
have one push.
Again, same thing. High ground.
Yep. Take top or high
The
ground.
target,
okay.
then dive.
Alright.
Go again. Duran's gonna have
Watch
shatter.
out for
Come on, come on, come on, come on.
shatter. Yeah.
Let's move, let's move.
Go. They already rotated. Alright, Diva's here. See if
Find
we
the
can
Anna,
get this Diva. See
then
if we-
diver.
Yeah, honestly.
Anna
Alright.
got him right.
Wait,
3,
Anna.
2, 1, go.
Go. Breaks one bash me. I got slept. I'm off high ground. I'm going to die. Never mind, I'm alive. I need heals though. I need heals bad.
Missed your armor pack.
They're chasing me.
ready to
Up
jump
here,
down on
you
that-
can use
on
your
that
whip
hill.
shot to proc your healing to help heal your Winston.
Anna,
heal
she's
me,
near
heal me,
Mega,
heal me.
she's near Mega.
Thank you. Yeah, I see.
Yo,
They're on her Anna, they're on her Anna.
No.
No.
Anna, come down the stairs.
He's fine, don't touch her.
I'm slept.
Fuck
I got
that,
shard.
we get that.
I think that's the round.
Yeah, we just weren't moving fast.
Dive. As Xavier goes, we get that.
Move in.
Cool.
Very
Yeah,
unsafe.
play
If
summer,
they're
bro.
running guts, then keep
Good job. Good scouting. Yeah,
keep
good
Lucio
job.
hacked.
Yeah, they're goats. Maygots. With the hog.
There you go.
Keep May,
May
keep
hog
hog,
first.
keep hog hacked. Keep hog hacked. Keep May and hog.
Okay,
You're.
it's not diving yet. Let's wait for
Yeah,
him.
wait for it.
We're gonna
They're on
dive.
point.
Dive Zarya
Okay.
quick.
One tick.
Touch.
Yeah.
Hold on,
Go,
easy.
Right now.
Melo.
Go Ryan, come on.
You're playing way too close. Like Ryan turns around, gets a little bit, and with the speed boost, he's within range of smacking you. Like, they don't even need to amp. And they also have hook, and they have freeze that can force you, and they also have bash. Right? So you don't need to be this close to them to get hack off or to damage them.
Come on.
I can't see any of you.
Rock on right. I'm dead.
Ryan's one.
I got one shot by May.
Alright.
Touch.
Yes, that was data form.
No.
Yeah.
GG's.
Right.
Easily blocked.
That's that last map.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like.
And like we don't
Okay,
plan
that's
on.
last map. Okay, individual stuff. That was okay. It wasn't by far wasn't the worst thing I've seen. I would say just like practice your Ashe more, so like you get used to her dynamite range, like the explosion range, and then like how far you can throw it, and like use it more to get ult charge, especially if you're gonna have it up again by the next fight, before you need it again. So if you've won a fight and then you just chuck it over to their spawn and then try to get something there, to build ult charge. Bob usage. don't just randomly throw it out. Like on Route 66, you were going for the Zen, and that's cool. I mean, you put yourself in a shape position to do it, but like you should have a target in mind that you want to hit Bob with. So then they're thrown up in the air, which makes them easier targets for you to hit and your whole team to hit, and it also puts them out of position, basically, right? And then Bob's in a position where he can fire at them, or he can fire around them, or whatever, whoever he needs to hit. So practice Bob usage. I also like optimization stuff, so like learning when to rotate quicker, or optimization goes along with like the using abilities when you need to get back quicker, or to build alt charge faster, stuff like that. Widow, use mines a little bit more. I think that was basics of what I was saying earlier. Hopefully this wasn't, I mean, when I'm doing this VOD, I don't mean any like disrespect, or I don't want you to be offended by anything I said, so hopefully nothing I said did offend you. I just remember like being at this point with like one of my OD teams like a while ago, so it's I've been there, man. Oh, comm stuff. So you don't really talk in your comm structure in your team, from what I understand and what I've heard. So that's fine. But maybe be a little more vocal about. Typically, the way I have some of my comm structures set up is that someone like you, typically DPS players, would be more calling positioning of someone if someone's overextended, or like where a widow is, or whatever, something like that. And also ability usage. So if a widow used grapple, if a brig used shield bash, stuff like that. Stuff like that is useful to your team. Yeah, so don't be afraid to call those out with your team. Even if you don't have like priority, if like your target callers and shot callers have priority, like you should still, don't be afraid to say that someone used a cooldown, or tell someone where they're positioning. Like that's important stuff too, and everyone should hear it. I think that's it. That's all I can remember. I have to go get food, but like I'll post this, and then if you have any questions, you can talk to me. Like we can talk over Discord, or you can just like message me or whatever. Anything's cool. Cool. Hopefully this was some use to you. Talk to you later.